Frozen Tundra Football League.
Yep, that's right, folks. For the second straight week, I welcome you, my friends and fellow FTFLers, to the longest running weekly episodic fantasy football update show, not from the ice cave in the cold reaches of northern Minnesota. Nay, you can see it behind me. Second straight week, I am on the road. This week on location in sunny Palm Springs, California. Woo! I tell you what, the Hulkamaniacs as of late have been winning. And I kind of feel that's representative of life for me right now. All sorts of winning, baby. But that hasn't been the case for everyone. Now, I know in the past we have talked about get to 7 and you're in. Different though this week, of course, or this year with 14 games, 7 probably wasn't going to be the number. It was going to be 8, and we finally, with 2 weeks to go, have our first team that has made it to 8 victories. And it wasn't the team that most folks probably thought it was going to be, the Valhalla Vandals, who have fallen on some terribly hard times. Nay, it was, and I don't even know how this happened, because in a text, and I'll dig and see if I can find it and show it to you on the screen. If I find it, great. If not, oh well. He gave up. He said he didn't care anymore. He said he didn't expect his team to do anything. And then he went on and won his 8th game, and now he's 8-4. That's right, Liquid Schwartz, the first to 8 wins. Now, there's a couple people that are close, but who is in and who is out if the playoffs were to start today? And with just 2 weeks to go, I mean, people are running out of time to make their case, build their resume, if you will, to get themselves in. And one team in particular whose resume is taking on some water, that of the Mixin Cocktails. Started off 2-0, dropped to 2-4 with 4 straight losses, flipped the script and went 4 straight in a row and rode his way to a 6-4 and a share of first place in the division. However, he has dropped 2 since then. Prediction by Sid a couple weeks ago said Andy's going to lose the next 4. Is that what happens? I guess time will tell, but he definitely is dealing with issues, but still with quarterbacks and who should you play, who should you not play. Christian McCaffrey doing very injury-ridden, dare I say, and we'll hear it later, wet paper sack type McCaffrey things. Andy's team, which just a couple weeks ago looked like it was on the cusp of taking over the league, is now fighting for its playoff lives. As far as I can tell, everyone is still in. However, you're talking, there are a handful of teams, and we'll cover this later, that have to win both games and need help. With that, we go to the games, and one team that, well, I mean, I suppose maybe I got help, and you know what? Yeah, I got help for this week. The Cordero Patterson thing, not my idea. I didn't have it in the starting lineup until about 10 minutes before game time, where I replaced DK Metcalf with Cordero Patterson. And that, my friends, was the difference, 99.5 for me, against the team now that has not beaten me in 3 consecutive meetings. The Mana 4-time Lucky Pants, belt-stealing, breaking and entering champ, Mana. He had 90. Now, 90's not a bad week, and I only had 99.5, which still is not a bad week, but it was 9.5 more than Jeff, led, by the way, by a man who scored 24 points with a broken freaking toe. Aaron Rodgers, 24 points. Cordero, the last-minute switch, Patterson, 21. Darnell Mooney, waiver wire pickup 2 weeks ago, back-to-back double-digit weeks. He's 10.5 this week. And Pat Fryermuth, another waiver wire darling for my team, 10 points. Dalvin, hit the alert. Wet paper sack alert! Yeah, wet paper sack Cook. Bag blew smooth out. However, what looked to be a season-ending injury, people were gathered around. There were tears on his face, really laying into it. Kind of surprised that it wasn't, and he actually may be back in time for the playoffs. So I give that not just one, but 2 thumbs up. He had 9 points before he went out with injury. If you're Markser, Elijah Mitchell, Jalen Waddle, you broke the chain, you broke the seal. No longer can he be your rookie keeper, and probably should have been playing him all along. 18.5 points for both of those guys. OBJ, who I have verbally abused on this show time and time again, he had 16.5 points. Of course, why wouldn't he? And I thought for sure that was going to be the play that beat me because, well, we'll get there in a moment. 12.5 of those points were on that one stupid lucky touchdown he scored. Jonathan Taylor, Jeff's saving grace on his team, 14 points, and the Buffalo Bills just had 11. Cam Newton, Jalen Hurts, 6 points apiece. Mark's quarterback situation, neither of them did much with that, and that is just fine. All right, but wait. Going back to I didn't even include on here. You want to know why? Because Jeff didn't even get it all the way up to full performance level. His Chubb. Going into Sunday night, I thought for sure, well, I'm going to get beat by Jeff's Chubb, which I wanted no part of. Trust me. And it didn't happen. Yay! It was so exciting. All right, but I win. Jeff loses. I move to 7-5. Jeff falls to 6-6, and we'll cover more on that later. People like seeing me a little bit like that, and now you can actually see me. It's a little washed out in the background. Actually, I'd rather have it be nice and blue in the background. All right, up next, the Pack Attack, who was with me for the first time ever on the show. It took 97 shows. By the way, this week is 98. 2 weeks, episode 100. We're going to have some big kind of looking back moments, a couple special guests for the show. It is going to be a monumental occasion. I hope you can join me, and I might even do a live Zoom broadcast of it. We'll see. Pack Attack taking on Kramerica. 5-6 Pack Attack, who is scoring tons of points, having himself a wonderful season, just can't quite catch a break. Kramerica 7-4 and seemingly in the driver's seat as he heads off to the playoffs. And then Leonard Fournette happened. 117 to 87.5. Eric picks up the win because of Leonard Fournette's not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 touchdowns in what was his absolute best fantasy game of his entire career. 35.5 points for him, 16 points for Russell. Your season is over, and maybe, just maybe, you got to blow this whole thing up in Seattle. Stupid face. Wilson had 16. Myles Gaskin, 15. Cooper Kupp, 11.5 in that just putrid. The Rams offense is crumbling, falling apart. They had a bye. 2 weeks to prepare for the Packers, and it still didn't get it done. Tyler Higbee, half point, was the only player that Eric had who was under 8 points. If you're Sid, 87.5. Again, not a terrible week, but leading scorer, Kirk Cousins. Something tells me even if Kirk Cousins is your leading scorer, even if he's scoring 20 points, that's just not a way to win ball games, especially when the dude is lining up behind his guard. My goodness gracious, if I had to show people who had never seen any football one play to just represent all of the Vikings' just inept history, it would be that play. I think I've probably watched it 200 plus times in the last week. Which, again, think about it, Vikings fans. And oh, by the way, as I'm here in California, there are people back at my house, and wouldn't you know it, nothing has happened. And why? Why has my house not been just covered in all sorts of just paraphernalia and vandalism? Vandalism, by the way, is where I really think I'm leaning in this incident. Oh, because someone's there, and Vikings fans are cowards. They don't attack when you're there. They don't attack when there might be a confrontation. No, that's when they run and hide. So nothing has happened this week. But man, oh man, it's funny. A whole week goes by, and now do I even remember what happened 2 weeks ago? No. And does anyone care what happened 2 weeks ago? No. Because it was one game where the Vikings rose up, and they beat the Packers. And then what happened? The next week, a quarterback lines up behind the guard on a 4th and goal play that was an absolute pivotal moment in the game. That's what you're going to get, Vikings fans, and that's what you're going to get, Sid Hagen, if Kirk Cousins is your quarterback heading down the stretch. Go ahead, keep starting. That would be great. Because guess what? You're going nowhere with him. Nowhere. Also, Austin Eckler, 15 points. Antonio Gibson, 13.5. Justin Tucker, 13, and Mark Andrews with 12. Points all over the board, at least from some prominent players, but not enough to beat Eric, and probably because Chris Godwin only scored 2, and Michael Pittman scored 4. Now, Pittman, his 3 games, okay, So we go over Michael Pittman's last 6 games. The first 3 of that stretch, 47.5 points. The last 3 of that stretch, 11.5 points. Sid got hot when Michael Pittman got hot, which is so bizarre because no one was expecting Michael Pittman to carry anyone's team, yet that was what was happening. Maybe Pittman gets back on track. Maybe Sid gets back on track. He is still sitting okay at 7-5. Eric at 6-6 is not as good a position, but it was a good division win and a head-to-head win against Hagen. All right, up next, the Liquid Schwartz at 7-4, taking on Team Linkowitz at 4-7. And this one was one of the lower scoring affairs of the weekend, and it actually got real close at the end. But if you were John, it wasn't, I guess maybe as is always the case, just wasn't long or big, it wasn't enough. 88 points for Adam, 84 points for John. For Swart, again, led by Josh Allen, 30 points. Adam Thielen, who I'm just really tired of seeing that guy's stupid face. 10 touchdowns on the season for him, 18.5 points for him. T. Higgins had himself a good game, 15 points. David Montgomery, 5.5. Najee Harris, 3.5. Najee's worst game of the season. And Adam Swart, you're the first to 8 games. And so golf clap, and it appropriate here at the Westin Mission Hills Golf Resort and Spa that I give you that golf clap. But let's be clear. Those kind of running back numbers, they're not going to get it done. Now, I know you watched Dalvin Cook get hurt the other day and you thought, well, I'm in luck. I didn't trade away for Dalvin Cook. No, you're not. But in a couple weeks when he comes back, and then when I see you in the playoffs, you're going to wish you had him. So if you're John, Joe Mixon, 24, Justin Herbert, part of that blockbuster trade all those weeks ago, which, yes, I have an update coming, 20 points for him. McPherson, Cincinnati's kicker, 13 points, Baltimore's defense, 10. On that trade, Justin Herbert, James Conner, DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Swart, you caught John in an off week. Conner and Hopkins both had a bye. Now, Hopkins hadn't been playing, but Conner has been a touchdown machine. Justin Herbert, all by his lonesome, 20 points. Jeff's Jameis Winston, Will Fuller, and Jonathan Taylor only mustered 14, so that's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. Let's get the second hand, not 6, not 7, but 8. 8 straight weeks where John has won that trade. But again, I know, I hear you screaming, Jeff. Even though I'm in here in California, I can hear you screaming all the way from Browerville. What's John's record? What's John's record? Please, God, tell them what's John's record. After this week, it's 4-8. And Jeff is 6-6, and so, yeah. Plus, Jeff, I know you got a second round pick. We know. All right. Speaking of the records and playoffs, let's take a break here, a little pause, just to kind of briefly talk about who's in and who's out of the playoffs for start today. Actually, where we're headed over the next couple weeks. As far as I see it, one team is absolute lead pipe lock, and they're in. Adam Swart, first to 8. Again, golf clap here in the Mission Hills Resort and Spa. Bravo, well done, even though you quit and didn't think your team could do it, thus proving you don't have to be good, folks. You just have to be lucky. After that, there are 3 teams that are 7-5. Valhalla Vandals, who have limped their way to, and really have been stuck on 7 now for a while, 7-5. Kramerica, 7-5, and a team who's a little bit, at least better momentum, the Hulkamaniacs. Oh, that's my team. That's right. My team. 7-5. All of us are looking at 1 win in the next 2 weeks, and we are in the playoffs. Done. All right, after that, we get another group of 3, another trio, if you will. Andy, Jeff, and Eric are all 6-6. They definitely need at least 1 win. 2 wins is going to be a lock for the playoffs. You get 1, you're going to need some help. There's going to be some dancing with the division and the head-to-head stuff. Again, in that position, all of us, the previous 3 and then these last 3, we are in the driver's seat. If you win out, you're going to be in the playoffs. That is not the case, however, for the last trio. The Architect, the Radioactive Monkeys, and Team Linkowitz. Architect at 5-7. That 5-game losing streak really is going to come back to probably haunt. You're at 5-7. Monkeys and Linkowitz at 4-8. You both, all of the 3 of you, need to win both games, and you're going to need some help along the way. It is not a high probability that you're going to make the playoffs, but then again, that's why we play the games, and stranger things have, of course, happened. All right, we're getting to the last couple games. We're going to get out of here. I got more sessions I got to get to, and I mean, well, there's all of that to enjoy, I suppose, as well, although, truth be told, I missed the cold, and there's no snow here. So, Valhalla Vandals, who have, again, limping. For the 3rd time in the last 4 weeks, he has had the lowest score of the league. Lots of promise, lots of mouthiness, lots of smack talk early on there, Peter. And I mentioned it earlier, the vandalization that was done to my house. I know I've accused you of maybe being pretty poor as far as Vandals. Pretty weak. Really not causing any sort of fear in anyone. So was it you? Did you come to my house like a coward when I wasn't there and leave Vikings parapet? Was that you, Peter? Because if it was, it was a bad decision, my friend. It was a bad decision. All right, anyways, 56.5 points for Peter, taking on the Architect, who is finally off the schneid. He scored 98. If you are Matt, you took the Matt Stafford bait, 34 points later, still didn't beat the Packers because Stafford he doesn't win at Lambeau Field. We all know this. But he helped you win this week. Also, David Schultz, 11.5 points. Another tight end who, in some ways, maybe should have not played. Hard to say, but he did, and you were the benefiter of that. Zeke Elliott, 11 points. Devontae Adams, 10 points. If you're Peter, you had to start Tom Brady this week because Patrick Mahomes had a bye, and he only got you 10 points, along with Rudy Gay, your kicker. Matt Gay. Rudy, that was a different football player. Darrell Henderson, though, led the way with 12, and Gronk had 11.5. No Mahomes, no Hill, no win for Peter. Kareem Hunt came back after being in the IR. Yeah, he tallied a whopping 0 points. Jamar Chase, in his lowest output of the year, 3.5 points. I've been saying it all along. The depth on this team is not there. If Mahomes and Hill are going to play like they've played in the last couple of seasons, this team could still be a factor in the playoffs. If not, though, it was a halfway, somewhat kind of okay first season in the FTFL. Maybe, just maybe, you can beat me next year, but that's next year. All right, last game of the week. The Mixing Cocktails coming in at 6-5, taking on the Radioactive Monkeys at 3-8. And like I mentioned earlier, Andy has fallen now 2 losses in a row. 97.5 for Adam, 70.5 for Andy. Mac Jones got a start in the league. Mac Jones, 22 points. Daniel Carlson leading the way with 21. Well, not leading the way, but an amazing performance, 21 points. Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks both had 13.5. Miles Sanders and Samaje Perine. That is right, folks. In the FTFL in 2021, Samaje Perine is still getting starts. They combined for 5 points, bringing Salty's starting running backs totals for the season through 12 weeks at 81 points. That is under 7 points combined a week. There's a reason you're 4-8. Other running backs who have at least 81 points or more. Last week it was 21. This week it is again at 21, so no change. But my goodness gracious, it has been an absolute just abomination. And as far as I see it, like a front runner for the DSM award, not addressing. And maybe you tried, again, and I'm sure you did, but to not be able to rectify that scenario has been just pivotal in your team's, lack of success. If you're Andy, for the second straight week in a row, Nick Folk leads your scoring. 22 points for him. Deebo Samuel, 16.5 points. And, oh, by the way, what happened? He's hurt. Yep. Lamar Jackson got you 12 points. Now, we don't give negative points for interceptions, so I know Jeff is still really upset about. Christian McCaffrey, though, you ready? Cue the music. Wet paper sack alert! That's right. The second wet paper sack alert this week. 2 running backs with 2 speckled injury histories. Again, Andy's team gets McCaffrey back. Deebo is running wild. If Prescott is going to play at the MVP level he had been playing at, this team, Mike Evans, it was absolutely loaded. George Kittle as a flexing tight end could have been massive. Now Andy needs to win both games, or at least one, and get some help along the way. I guess time will tell, and we'll see where this goes. All right, stud the dud the decent, and then we're getting out of here with next week's matchup. Stud of the week, this was easy. Leonard Fournette, 35.5 points. I got a text from Sid at some point saying, hey, I didn't know that Derrick Henry had come back, and that's who I was playing this week. Kind of what it felt like. 35.5 for him, like I said. If you're the dud of the week, Jeff's quarterbacks, both with 6 points. He could have used, even if each one of them would have had 14 points, it may have, he lost by 9.5. So 16 points. Another 10 from either one of those. Smooth sailing, 2 touchdowns, some yards, he would have been fine. Wasn't the case. I'm also going to say Christian McCaffrey. Like, your last 2 seasons, all this excitement, all this hope, all this amazingness that is Christian McCaffrey, and you just can't stay on the field. So therefore, you're a dud. Guess what? This week, no DSOM and/or Sports DSOM's nomination. I don't have anything. Nothing. It was a clean week. Nice job, folks. One last golf clap here at the Westin Mission Hills Resort. And no, they're not sponsoring the show, but I like saying the name. It's kind of fun. All right, week 13. Here we go. Two left. Who is going to make it in? Who is going to just be found on the outside? Looking in, big game. Valhalla Vandals 7-5 taking on Kramerica at 7-5. Winner of this game is going to be in the playoffs. Will the Valhalla Vandals roar back with Mahomes and Hill the lineup? Will they finally be able to figure things out? Or will they continue their slide and miss the playoffs? The Pack Attack is 6-6 taking on Mana, 4-time, Lucky Pants, belt stealing, breaking and entering, but didn't vandalize my house champ, Mana. Both of these teams lose this game, and you're probably missing the playoffs. It's a big one. Hulkamaniac 7-5 taking on Team Lincolnwoods at 4-8. Liquid Schwartz at 8-4 taking on the Mixing Cocktails at 6-6. And Andy needs to get off the schneid and get himself in the win column. And lastly, the Architect at 5-7 taking on the Monkeys at 4-8. Loser of this one is absolutely out of the playoffs. Done. Matt wins. Things might get interesting, and he's able to get himself in. I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. Well, it went, and the show is over. I've got things I've got to do. I hope that you all are having a great time back home in Minnesota. Again, I'm looking forward to being back. And in 2 weeks, the 100th episode of the FTFL Weekly Update. Where has the time gone? Until then, my friends, peace! Yeah, man, huge. Absolutely huge. I mean, in the past, I don't have the gall to make that move. 10 minutes before the game, take out one of my keepers, stud receiver DK Metcalf? I know. You the man, and we're one step closer. I can't wait. Yeah, I'll be back in a few days. We'll set up a time for me to get you, I guess, the second installment, and really, fingers crossed that we get to meet up one last time and celebrate that Fantasy Bowl victory. All right, man. Yeah, well, thanks. And, have a good rest of the week, too. Peace out.